All right. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing in the chat box? Just check in real quick. How are you doing this Sunday morning, bright and early, Sunday at 8? I'm a morning person, so I don't know about how are y'all doing? Are y'all doing okay? How was your session yesterday? How do y'all feel after all the sessions yesterday? How are y'all starting to feel? Are you starting to feel a little more confident? Is it coming together? I keep on telling, especially the newer group, the March group, it's all like a big puzzle piece and everything starts coming together. Are y'all feeling really good? It's starting to make more sense? Good. Anybody else? How are y'all feeling? Jan, you're feeling good about things? Okay, awesome. Excited for today's class. It's going to be fun, Elizabeth. Oh, Alicia, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. Okay, definitely. I won't. We have 3 fun case studies at the end, but it's just going to be participatory just in the chat box. So don't worry about it. You just, chime in as best you can, Alicia. Jesse's doing good. Jamaria, you got lost with client forms. It's okay. It comes together, Jamaria. And that's not going to be the last time you work on those client encounter forms. So don't worry about it. It'll come together. So today we're going to have a fun class. It's a good way to start a Monday or Sunday morning talking about food. One of my favorite topics, and just a lot of interaction. And so this is kind of what we've got planned for today. And actually, this is kind of, Dr. Manjulali and I worked on this, so we kind of tag team. So this might be kind of part 1, and then she started looking at other content. So there might be a part 2 of this. So because it's just so fun and it's so practical information that you're going to want to share with your clients. And so for today's class, though, we're going to just briefly recall the 6 tastes of foods, which y'all should already be familiar with. And then we're going to just review some of the basic principles of buying, preparing, and storing food. This is y'all should remember from your first, your first 3 or 4 classes at the very beginning of the counselor program. So just kind of highlighting that information. And then where we're going to get into some really good stuff where I want you all to take some notes is we're going to talk about the tools of the trade for the busy cook, right? Because everybody's so busy right now, right? And so we really want to hone in on this. And so we can offer our clients practical advice. And then we're going to restate the strategies for overcoming the top 3 obstacles to cooking. Okay, in the chat box, what do you think is going to be one common obstacle that you're going to find when you work with clients and you start talking about diet? What's one of the top obstacles that you're going to encounter? Time, exactly. Yep, no time, exactly. So today, we're going to try to overcome that obstacles together. Preconception about ideas, exactly. Resistance to cook, yes. Y'all are all. So I've got some ideas on how we can overcome these obstacles, but this is where I want to hear from y'all. And when we come to this part of the class, if you want to unmute yourself, if you've already tried to work either overcoming these obstacles for yourself and you found some cheats that work for you, or if you're working with clients that already work with clients, this is where I want everybody to participate, because if we can get like a lot of ideas to overcome these obstacles, then it's going to help all of us as we continue to work with clients. And then at the end, we're going to just really summarize some practical meal planning strategies for our busy clients. So that's what our game plan is for today. All right, so back to basics. As you know, your role as a counselor is going to really hone in and focus on creating recommendations for your clients that address imbalances using diet and lifestyle, right? That's the scope of the Ayurveda counselor. So this information is foundational, and that's why I want to make it participatory, because this is what you're going to be doing. This is what you have to become the expert at. And with time, you will become the expert at offering diet recommendations and lifestyle, and then learning how to overcome obstacles, and then how to tailor those for your clients. And that's why yesterday's class and today's class is, I just want to make it have a lot of feedback back and forth, because I want y'all to start becoming very confident and comfortable in having those conversations with your clients. And we know in Ayurveda that food is the best medicine and healer, right? Food has the power to heal if we're eating the right things for our dosha and to alleviate our current dosha imbalance, right? So food has the power to heal, but we have to be eating the right food. I had an Instagram post that I posted yesterday, the day before yesterday or yesterday, I'm not too sure when I posted it, but it was talking about 3 simple things, to restore balance. And one of them was eating fresh, healthy, organic food for your dosha. And then, Manjalati's always stressed this, is that we are what we eat and digest. So it's not just about what we're eating, but what are we digesting? And how, and what's the quality of that digestive process? And you've already been learning about Agni, so you know what I'm talking about, right? It's not just a matter of what we put in our mouth, but it's the state of the Agni, of our fire, to be able to assimilate and metabolize the food that we're putting into our body, right? And we know that whatever we digest, it can be beneficial or it can be harmful. Just real quick, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, but in case you're interested, I'll have to go back and I'll do more research. Maybe for class next week, I'll have more details. But I get a lot of emails and sign up for a lot of emails having to do with Ayurveda. And I love studies, and y'all know I always refer to NIH studies. But there was a study that showed the association between proper chewing of food, because you think about all the muscles that you're using to chew and to break down food, that can actually help reduce instances of dementia just by the musculature and the process of chewing food. And I found it very interesting. Like I said, I haven't done a lot of research. I'm going to go back, but it was a NIH article in association with some other groups, but a lot of really, really good research that's going on. And I just, when we're talking about food and digestion, just helping our clients understand, and this is information that they don't come across, and you don't think about, what's that old saying? If somebody in the chat box, how many times are you supposed to chew your food? Remember, it's that old saying. I don't know how many times you're supposed to chew your food. It's like a old saying or something like that. I don't know if y'all remember, but apparently there's some science to that. So anyway, just wanted to share that with y'all. Okay, the 6 tastes in the chat box. So we know that there are 6 tastes, right? What would those be in the chat box? Do y'all remember? Sweet, sour, bitter, astringent. Yes. So we have sweet, right? That sweet taste that we get from cooked apples. Sour, right? Some fruit, but we see that in sour cream or yogurt. Salty, that we see in seeds and nuts. Bitter, like in spinach and kale. Pungent, onions and garlic. Astringent, right? Some dried fruits and some legumes are astringent, right? All right, so now here we are, our first little knowledge check. So I'm gonna show the taste, and then which 2 elements make up the sweet? Do you remember? The sweet taste, do y'all remember which 2? Earth and water, good job, everybody. All right, sour. Good job, earth and fire. All right, salty. Water and fire, good job. What about bitter? Yes, perfect, air and space. And what about pungent? Air and fire. Astringent. Air and earth. Good job, Bonnie. All right. Y'all did great. And in the chat box, why do you think it's important that we know this information, that we know the 6 tastes and then what they're made of? How do you associate that? How do you connect that, connect the dot to the work that you're doing with your clients in the chat box, or unmute yourself, whichever you prefer? Because I know sometimes there's a delay in typing. The taste balance the doshas, exactly, perfect. Anybody else to balance their diet? Anything else? To do the opposite. Yep. 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 Perfect. Right. And so we're looking at, okay, so if you have a client with like say a Vata imbalance, we're going to want to take that into consideration when we're looking at our diet plans, right? And it's when you're explaining these concepts to your clients in terms of earth and water, it may not be very easy for them to associate that with which food, right? And that's why we give them the lists so that we kind of make it a little bit easier for them. Okay, so the goal of Ayurveda and our diet recommendations is we really want to try to encourage our clients to include all 6 tastes in each meal if all possible, right? Because we know, just like y'all mentioned in the chat box, right? This is actually going to really guide us towards a state of balance, right? And then it's actually I found this very interesting that each taste, right, feeds our mind, our body, and our senses and spirit in its own way. So the sweet taste is going to, serve the body in a certain way, but the way that it serves the senses and the spirit is in a separate way. So I thought that was such a beautiful when I found that in Eat, Taste, Heal. I really, really found that as a beautiful statement. And it's, again, connecting the dots and helping explain this content and this information to our clients, right? And so when we include each taste in each meal, it actually helps the digestive process function smoothly and efficiently. And so this is another aha. This is another point that you're going to want to talk to your clients, because they're going to say, this is a foreign concept to us here in America, right? To eat and try to incorporate 6 tastes. In other cultures, Indian food is amazing. And if you go to restaurants or whatever, you'll see when you order food, the 6 tastes are represented, right? But in our diet, in our Western diet, not so much. But really, we need all those 6 tastes for the our digestive process to function smoothly. And again, we know that according to Ayurveda, we believe that imbalances of the digestive fire is the yes, Bonnie, I'm glad you were doing your reading. It's true, right? So we believe that the imbalances of our digestive fire is a root cause for most diseases. And you're going to start seeing that as you work with more and more clients. And so we really want to help our clients get to a state of balance. So what is, I'm going to throw this out there. What is one, actually give me 1 or 2 basic, easy recommendations you offer your clients to help them bring a little more balance to their digestive system? 1 or 2 things that you're actually talking to your clients about, or your friends or your family, or things that you have already done already. And not specific to diet, maybe not. Just 1 or 2 simple things. Okay, besides 6 tastes. Eating at the right time. Great job, Marion. Walking after a meal for 10 minutes. What else? Basic things. Warm water when you wake up. CCFT. If slow digestion, add spices. Yep. Let food fully digest. Exactly. No cold with drinks. Thank you, Bonnie. Yes, keep it simple. Yep. Don't eat too late at bedtime. All those basic things, y'all, are going to make it. That's what the beautiful thing about Ayurveda. And that's why I think that heaviest meal at lunch. Yes. We're able to help clients make micro changes with these simple little changes, honestly. And, whenever I know I've talked to y'all about the visual that I give clients about cold drinks with meals, about the whole barbecue thing. Cause my dad barbecued growing up. And it's really funny. And y'all have to start thinking of your stories, and you have to start thinking about your, how you're going to help a client visualize whatever information you're sharing with them, because people see things visually, right? A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people are visual learners, right? And whenever I give that example about, oh yeah, Elizabeth, okay, perfect. So it's like my favorite story to tell. So, I'm from South Texas. My dad barbecued every weekend. Every Sunday he would barbecue for us. And so whenever I'm talking to clients about digestive fire, I always talk about, like, okay, envision a barbecue pit, right? And you're putting your charcoal and you're throwing in mesquite tree, because we had mesquite trees and we would throw in for that smoky flavor. My dad would do that. And if you think about it, what would happen if you you got your fire burning, if you can visualize the fire, right? And then you poured a gallon of cold water. And I asked them, what would happen? And they say, well, it would burn out the fire. I said, exactly. And that's what happens when we're drinking cold drinks, when we're eating food. And so if you don't have the digestive fire, like in that barbecue pit, if you were then, you have your barbecue, you have your fire, you poured a gallon of cold water, and then you put, like, say, a piece of, I know this is going to sound horrible, but you put a piece of steak on there. Is that steak going to cook? No, right? Because there's no fire, there's no heat. And so without the digestive fire, in our belly, we can't break down the food that we're putting into our stomach, right? And so then I told him, I said, okay, so then what happens if you've got your fire burning and your barbecue and it's burning bright, and so you've got the flames sky high, like they're really going high. And if some of y'all barbecued, you know what I'm talking about, where the fire just kind of goes up to the sky, like really high. I said, so then what happens if you put a piece of steak on that fire? And then they say, well, it's going to just charcoal, like it's just going to burn. I said, exactly. And so when you've got a lot of you've got a lot of the fire element, your fire is burning really, really high, like in cases with Pitta, right? Then if you put food in there, then the digestive fire is so strong, it's going to burn your food. And then the quality that actually gets absorbed and moves into your tissues is poor quality. And so this is just, one of the examples that I use. I hope that was helpful, Elizabeth. But you find your own stories. You find your own stories. There's a whole story like in Dr. Ladd's book about the pot. I think for Texas, it works for me, especially I live in Austin where there's barbecue places everywhere. So it tends to work with me, but I hope you found that helpful. Anyway, have fun with it, make your stories, and actually, good. I'm glad you liked it, Elizabeth. Yeah. You want to make it easy for clients to want to do the right thing, right? And those stories help. Okay. So what do y'all think is the Western, like if this class is about meal preparation. So what is the Western perspective, because in all our classes, we try to, not in all, but most of our classes, we try to do the Western perspective and the Ayurvedic perspective, because we want to be able to give you context when you're working with clients. So meal prep, what does that look like here in the US these days? Prep 1 week ahead. What else? When you hear meal prep, what are y'all thinking about? Frozen dinners, yes. Open cans, freeze meals. Yes, thank you, Nadine. Yes, subscribe to prep services. Prep breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Use containers and microwave throughout the week. Y'all all have it. Thanks, Elizabeth, everybody. So yeah, so when we hear about meal prep, this is what people are doing, right? There's so many meal prep delivery services now. I'm getting one on Instagram a lot on Indian food. So actually you can order all kinds of meal prep services are available, right? The one that really just makes my skin crawl. Have y'all seen the one that comes in these containers and it's a combination of fruits and vegetables mixed together? I don't know the name of that one. But they're like in these white containers. And then I don't know if you make like smoothies out of them. No, not HelloFresh. It's like a service, but they come in these like containers, and it's a combination of fruits and juice and fruits and vegetables. Oh, it's a smoothie service? Yeah, but it's just like, can you imagine? Oh my God. Like if you get that, if you're having 1 or 2 smoothies every day, I mean, they're putting out their digestive fire. They're setting them up for all kinds of problems. Every time I see that commercial, just like, oh my God, that's so horrible. And so we want to talk to clients about it, right? I mean, that's like incompatible foods, like all those smoothies, right? So, I mean, honestly, that one really just irritates me every time I see it. And then the other thing too is like, and I get it. Look, y'all, we are busy. Totally get it, right? And meal prepping on a Sunday for the week, a lot of people, that's just how they get through their week because their schedules are so chaotic. And so we have to meet clients where they're at, right? And so but ultimately what they're eating, let's just be real, they're eating microwaved leftovers for the next 5 days. And so think about it, you made something on Sunday. It was say that's all healthy, right? Even if you use all healthy organic ingredients on Sunday to make these delicious meals, right? And I'll tell you, I've got a family member who meal preps and her food is really, really good. Actually, it's one of my daughters. She does really good food, healthy food. But if she makes something with fresh, grains and vegetables on Sunday, by Friday, how much prana is left? I mean, it's been sitting in the refrigerator for 5 or 6 days. Like the prana is gone. All the life force, all those nutrients by Friday when she wants to eat it, it's done, it's gone. And yeah, some foods, right, Marion? But even the taste, like, I don't know how many of you have had leftovers that are, 2 or 3 days old. It doesn't taste the same as when you bought it the first day, right? And so we want to tell our clients, look, we meet our clients where they're at. And if they're dead set against, on meal prepping, okay, instead of meal prepping for 5 days, what are we going to tell them? Can you meal prep for 2 or 3 days? So at least they're not eating 5 days worth of leftovers, right? So let's meet our clients where they're at. And remember, just make those micro changes, y'all. We got to take the small wins. All right, this should not be anything new for y'all, right? So we want to encourage our clients to buy as much as possible, right? We want them to buy fresh, local, or as local as possible. And organic, and I get it, organic, especially right now with the food prices, organic is expensive, I get it. So let's just see if they can buy local, right? If they can buy, like if they're gonna buy oranges and they live in Texas, well, instead of getting the oranges from Florida, buy the one from Texas, right? Because it's closer to you, which means it's closer to your environment and it's gonna be it's gonna be a better option, right? And plus, we also want to support our local growers, right? And then some of y'all realize that some fruits and vegetables should really be stored optimally at room temperature? But what do we all do, including myself? Are y'all like me? I mean, I just put everything in the refrigerator. Yes. Yep. And it just, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I came back and buying groceries and I thought, no, like, why am I, like, I even stopped to think, like, why am I putting this in the refrigerator? Like, this should not be refrigerated. So, just again, another little lesson learned to share with clients. And then, this whole thing about refrigeration and freezing. Yeah, our house is already cool. Exactly, Bonnie. Especially, I mean, if you've got your central air and heat going, you got your air conditioning going, your home is in a comfortable temperature. And that we know that the longer we keep food in the freezer, then the cold damage that happens, it loses the prana, the texture changes, and so again, micro changes. We know one of the things that we're going to talk about is an obstacle that people don't like grocery shopping. A lot of people don't like grocery shopping. What are we going to tell our clients about that? And that's why they go, once a month and they stock up and they put everything in their freezer. And so they've got food sitting in their freezer for a month right before they even cook it. So we have to talk about that and how we can help our clients, overcome those obstacles and just, consider making some smaller changes. Elizabeth, we can ask them to prep lunch so they don't eat out. Yep. And cook at least one meal, fresh breakfast or dinner, depending on their schedule. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, right? Just those micro changes, and we meet clients where they're at. Because at the end of the day, we know that the longer something stays in the refrigerator or freezer, the more lifeless it becomes, right? It starts losing prana. The longer we keep food in the refrigerator, the longer we keep food in the freezer. And that's why, I've told y'all many, many times that I go grocery shopping every weekend, and the intent is whatever I buy is what I'm going to eat this week. But again, I don't have any young kids and my life is a little different. So I can't say that that's going to work for everybody. And I understand that. All right. So tools of the trade. Here we go. This is some good stuff here now. So just like everything else, Ayurveda holds that, natural alternatives are better, right? And we want to be able to prepare and cook foods with some natural methods because we want to protect the energetics of the food, right? And oh my gosh, I'm not I'm not a very good cook. But for some reason I love going into places that have like kitchen stuff, like pots and pans and gadgets, like sur la table. And I'm just, not that I cook again, but my husband is a very good cook. So I just like to buy stuff and then he can use it. But it's not about quantity, and it's really not about the newest fancy gadgets, right? Unless it's going to make it easier for our clients to want to cook and make it easier for them to cook. And so at the end of the day, we always want to think practical and we want to be realistic. So some of the recommendations is, and this is again from Eat, Taste, Heal. Oh, Jen, you like old fashioned oak cast iron pans. Oh yeah, definitely. So one of the recommendations in Eat, Taste, Heal, the book that I reference a lot during classes, is that we purchase a durable stainless steel pan with copper and silver alloy, and then maybe a shallow 4-inch kind of pan for heating our herbs and spices. And then, having a saute pan, a pan to saute, because and of course, if you have it with a lid. So again, it's not about quantity. It's just about having some good, good pots and pans. And, some of this stuff can be expensive. And so but again, think of it as an investment, right? Just think about it as an investment. And so this is something that, if you've got a client who really, really is likes to cook a lot, this is something that you may want to talk to your clients about. But I mean, I think for us as counselors, for us to move in this direction, just, again, it's an investment, something I want y'all to consider. All right, in the chat box, what do you think? Yes, Marion, I heard that as well. What are some time-saving appliances that either you use, that you have found saves time for you, or that maybe you've recommended to, okay, Instant Pot and rice cooker? What else? What are the time-saving appliances? Rice cooker, crock pot, toaster. What else? Anything? And don't think about blenders, water kettle. Slow cooker. Ah, the mandolin slicer. Food processor, yeah. Air fryer. Okay, now everybody I think has chimed in, and I want you to write one thing that you use, the item that you noted. So Kareem, you said slow cooker. So what do you use your slow cooker for? And then everybody has to put one thing. Nadine, you said mandolin slicer. What do you use your mandolin or grater? What everybody writes one thing for the item that you listed. Blender for soups. Kareem, grains like beans and lentils for the slow cooker. You've used the cooker for kitchery, or when you're in a rush at dinner. The rice cooker. Okay, Elizabeth, the rice cooker for rice, or do you use it for anything else? Marianne, without your kettle, you would not drink enough. That way you always have fresh tea. Yes, I agree with you on that. You prep a lot of vegetables, Nadine, quickly for your family meal with the mandolin. The pressure cooker for legumes and rice. The spice grinder, Jessie. The rice for the rice cooker. Instant Pot for rice and curries. It's so funny because when I was in the counselor program, I really wanted the mortar, for my spices. And then I thought, what the heck am I doing? So when I got a spice grinder, and it just changed my world. I love the little thing now. You do the same thing. Rice cooker for kitchery, air fryer for fish and veggies. Sometimes, very often, not very often though. A good knife and cutting board is your most used appliance. Yes, I'm glad that you wrote that. Yeah, and that's an investment. A good knife is an investment, y'all, and a good cutting board as well. I know, Jesse, the mortar and pestle is great, but it takes, that's why I had to give it up. I mean, I have it, and it's so pretty. I got a pretty marble one and everything. But yeah, now the spice grinder. is like my favorite. All right. Thanks for the feedback, y'all. All right. So crock pot and slow cooker. I think we're all in agreement, right? You just dump all your ingredients in there and you let it sit and you just go about doing what you got to do. So that's a great way of really, y'all are going to have fun with the homework because y'all know I'm all about the quizzes and I'm all about interaction and I'm all about homework. So wait till y'all see the homework. Y'all are going to love it. I'm giving y'all choices, but the crock pot, right? It's just something very easy and it's just amazing because it's an appliance that's not fancy and they're cheap, y'all. Like you can get a crock pot for like what, 10 or 15 bucks now. So we want to encourage our clients to, especially, like on a Saturday in the morning, they can dump everything in there, do what they got to do, run their errands, go buy groceries, come back, and they've got a really nice, healthy dinner or lunch waiting for them. The Instapot pressure cooker, it's very, very popular right now. This is something that you can definitely recommend to your clients. Probably most of your clients, most of us. Does everybody here in class today, do y'all have an Instapot? You love it? I have it. You don't, Jamaria? Yeah, like it's a game changer, y'all. Not yet. Yeah, it's the game changer for my husband, the cook. You love it for sticky rice? Okay, I'll have to let him know, right? So this is going to be great for your working clients. This is going to be, Bonnie, you don't use it. Okay, coming back to that. Why do you not use it, Bonnie? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but why don't you use it? And can you unmute yourself and talk to us? Let's make this more interactive, y'all. Let's start unmuting ourselves. Bonnie, oh, you weren't able to unmute yesterday, right? Can you unmute today? Got it.
Deborah, this is Elizabeth. Sometimes the Instapot feels like it takes more time to heat up than if I would to just cook it. So, and it's a little complicated. So maybe I just haven't used it enough, but I like the rice cooker because it just has like one setting, but the Instapot is kind of like a lot.
So I'm so glad that you said that because you're right. And again, like my husband, I was like, okay, I want to use it, whatever. Like he's tried to teach me how to use it. But it's just like everything else. The more that you use something, then the more familiar. I mean, you compare it to a rice cooker, you can't go wrong with a rice cooker, right? Like that was years ago. Like that was like huge game changer for me when I started, because I just could never make rice. I'm not a very good person to make rice, but with a rice cooker, like it's just a no-brainer. But so with Instapot, you have to practice it. And I can tell you that a lot of people have Instapots and they're going to tell you the same thing. They're going to tell you, I don't know, it just seems a little complicated. So as a really good counselor, we're going to want to help our clients overcome those obstacles, right? And we're going to want to give them some reasons to use it, how it's going to change their idea about cooking, especially if they're working all day. They can come in and put something in there real quickly, and then we're going to want to give them some recipes. The rice cooker, y'all, did you know that you can make oatmeal in the rice cooker? You can even make chili in there. Yeah, Manjulati is going to have a really great part 2 to this. I don't know if she's going to have time to do it today, but she was already working on it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I've only made rice in my rice cooker, but you can actually use it for other things. The tea kettle, right? Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Manjulati. And so the tea kettle, like keeping it full of water, I think one of y'all said it earlier in the chat box, right? Just an easy way, like to always be able to make a quick cup of tea for yourself, right? Steaming baskets. How many of y'all use steaming baskets? How many of you? Yeah. So easy, right? To steam your veggies. You've never tried? You use your coffee maker for a quick, hot cup of water.
We can use the kettle to boil water and pour it inside the rice or the legume that we want to cook before we put inside the pressure cooker. So it speeds up the process of cooking.
Oh, wow. That's a great tip. So can you put that in the chat box, please? Because that's something that we're going to want to share with clients.
Sure.
And then a food processor. Someone had also put the food processor, right? Saves a lot of time. It makes it easier to chop and grate, all that. So definitely want to recommend food processor. The spice grinder, we talked about that already. And then did you know that there is to cut down cooking time even more, that you can use a pot in pot method to cook multiple items at one time in your Instapot. So I found that, so you can research this pot and pot method. The Thermomix has it. Okay. All right. So thank you for writing that for others, so we can keep that little note. All right, the elephant in the room, y'all. The elephant in the room, microwave versus toaster oven. All right, give me some of your thoughts. And if you want to unmute yourself and talk about it, let's do this, because this is, some things that we're going to encounter with clients. Any thoughts about microwave versus toaster oven?
I think today it's impossible to live without microwaves.
Right. Toaster oven feels more natural.
I guess once you put it in the microwave, even if you had fresh organic food, you naturally come into or make it into processed food, right? Just due to the way it's heating up. So you take away the nutrients. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all, right. I think you're right. We've all found that exactly, microwave heating is never even, right? Like either you're gonna eat something and it's cold over here, and then you're gonna burn your tongue on this area, on this other part of the same food item, right? So toaster ovens, I'm with you. I've had toaster ovens off and on for years. They're small. They take less times to reach the temperature and less energy, and compared to using a big your regular oven, right? And actually you're going to have it cooks your food thoroughly inside, and it, depending on what you're eating, it actually can brown the outside. And then because you can adjust the heat, it's also a good option for keeping cooked food warm, even at a low heat, right? And that's something that a microwave can't do, right? So you can put something in the toaster oven at a low heat and it'll keep it warm for you. So the way that microwaves work, y'all, is that actually they bounce electromagnetic waves throughout the oven space to heat the water element in the food. So microwaves make the water molecules in your food vibrate, which produces the heat that cooks the food. And that's why foods with high water content, like veggies, that's why they can cook really quick. And if you think about it, if you've ever cooked, say a piece of chicken, if you put a piece of chicken, if you heat up a piece of chicken in a microwave, there's that that water element in the chicken, but it's going to dry your chicken out, because that's what the microwave does, right? So foods with high water content and fat content, those are the ones that, or trapped liquid, those actually cook. I know, Jesse, I didn't either. So they actually cook better in microwave. And how many of y'all have actually put bread in a microwave? What happens when you put bread in the microwave? Yep, it gets hard because there's no water. It doesn't have the water content or the fat content, and that's why that happens. So again, I think, we have to meet our clients where they're at, right? And this is one thing that we want to talk to them and ask them, like, what do you use at home? You sprinkle water on your bread? I hadn't thought of that. What appliances do you have at home that you use on a regular basis? And if they say, I've got a toaster oven or a microwave. I used to use a toaster oven a lot, but now I just use a microwave. I mean, maybe this is a topic of conversation that you want to have with your clients, and helping them, just consider different options. All right, so now we're coming to the fun part. Now we're overcoming obstacles. All right, so the first obstacle, and I want you to go ahead and unmute yourself. You have a client and she's telling you, or he's telling you, I don't know how to cook. What are you going to tell them?
Start simple.
Okay. And what does that look like? And you don't have to answer. Somebody else can chime in also. Start simple. What does that look like?
Something like put rice and one grain and one legume into the cooker.
Okay.
Then just add whatever salt or whatever I need.
All right. Bonnie, no, yes, Houston, we have a problem, but we have to solve the problem, right? Provide some basic recipes, offer a cooking class. Recipes always work. Okay, somebody else unmute yourself and chime in. And y'all, when you're talking about, go ahead.
Maybe so if you have, like, if someone always eats out, right, then they probably have one meal which they love. And so you could just find a copycat recipe. It might not be the best food, but it might engage them and be fun to copycat a recipe that they really enjoy in a restaurant, and then go from there.
Okay.
I would tell them to start with like one item at a time, like maybe eggs, or maybe, just like one item, super simple for breakfast, and then see what else they can incorporate, like adding more spices or adding veggies.
Okay. All right. Good idea. So I think we all agree, right? Keep it simple, right? And I think the other thing too is that whenever people start thinking about cooking, they think about like these, 4-course meals. They envision like all these cooking shows where it's intimidating. I mean, think about it, because the cooking shows, you see these fabulous meals, and to think like, oh, I could never do anything like that, right? So we want to keep it simple, and that's why our homework this week is going to be really important. And so we really want to see how they can incorporate the 6 tastes into their diet, but in a simple way, right? So we want, y'all mentioned this already, we want to look for some simple recipes that they can incorporate their dosha specific veggies and spices into. And so I don't want you, because this is what I did. I don't know if Manjalali's hearing me or not, but oh my God, y'all, you should see. Anyway, I did so much research, and I have all these recipes. I would stay up at night doing this kind of stuff, to give to clients. And so then I thought, okay, after I did all that homework on my own, I thought, the average person is not going to cook this. The average person already has their own meals, right? And so, like, say if I'm talking to somebody who makes Spanish rice, Mexican rice. Okay, why am I giving this person who makes really good, tasty Mexican rice, why am I giving them another recipe? No, I can just tell them how they can use the spices in their recipe for the way they make their rice, and then how they can add the veggies to their recipe, right? So don't change things up for them. But no, Jen, I'm telling you, I'm crazy. So we want to have a couple of core basic recipes in our back pocket for those who really, because I think a lot of people know how to cook. They just say that they don't know how, right? So most people will, how else have they survived, right? They know how to cook a little bit. They just they might think that they can't cook this elaborate meal. So we want to have a couple of recipes in our back pocket to offer clients. But again, we want to leverage what they're already doing. We want to incorporate the dosha veggies. We want to incorporate the spices for their dosha that we're trying to pacify in their existing recipes, if that makes sense. And then again, this is just like, practice changing up basic core recipes, right? If somebody is a really good rice cooker, rice cooker in the terms like they cook rice very well without a rice cooker, then like, okay, great. Like, how do we change that basic core recipe up? Does that make sense? Bonnie, you started doing that. Can you explain in the chat box what you mean by that you started doing what? With your Mexican rice? Yeah, exactly. If you know how to make Mexican rice really good, like my mom used to, like, okay, well, great. Just add these extra 2 recipes, because most Mexican rice, we use what, cumin, pepper, garlic. So you just started adding coriander and cumin. There you go. Right. And then the other thing too is that, sauteing veggies, or steaming veggies. It's just like, it's a fun way to add different vegetables into your diet. And it's just so easy. So I want somebody to unmute themselves and then talk about maybe how they personally overcame this obstacle. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I fixed it. I've been this whole time working on, this is Bonnie. I've been trying all this time to get my mic to work. Okay, so it works now. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad. So do you want to add anything, Bonnie, since you've finally able to fix your mic?
No, I was just, I was thinking about the same thing because I've been talking to, a lot of my friends, and I live here I got the Mexican bridge right here, just, you know what I mean? I live right along the border. So a lot of the people, we all cook all these Mexican cuisines. So I started to add coriander and cumin for the digestion because I have digestion problems. So I was thinking of the same thing too, as because I went to the public library and I went and checked out a lot of books out on Indian cooking and veggie cooking and stuff like that. And it's like you're saying, a lot of people don't have time. They don't have time to look at recipes. So why am I going to change things? So I was telling my husband, I think I'm going to start to change them, not to change the Mexican recipes, but maybe add some of these spices to what these ladies are already doing in their kitchen.
Exactly, Bonnie. Exactly. That's the easiest way, right? That's the easiest way that you're going to get buy-in from your clients, right? Unless you've got like somebody, like I had a client, actually, she loves to cook. And so she wanted different recipes but she likes to cook. That's her deal, right? And so I did give her the recipes because I had a whole library of recipes, right? So I gave her the recipes and she loved it. But that's not going to be very many of your clients, right? So we want to go ahead and have them make those minor adjustments, make those micro changes to their existing recipes that they're already using. Perfect. Good feedback. Thank you. I'm so glad. Hey, Bonnie, where do you live in the
I live here in Laredo.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm actually in Harlingen visiting my mom this weekend.
Oh.
All right. So I don't have time to go to the grocery store. Who's going to unmute themselves and talk about how we can overcome this obstacle?
They have so many, Instacarts and all those things where you can just do your grocery shopping online and then pick it up.
Yep.
So that's the easiest way to overcome that objection.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are already doing that, right? Because we had to do it during COVID, right? And so people just,
yes,
yep. And so people just kept on doing it. So it's a really good, I didn't think that was going to stick. I really thought that after COVID, people would stop using that and that like the grocery stores would stop doing that service. But I guess it just, it meets a need. Elizabeth, I love your suggestion to use half the rice serving and add more vegetables and other taste groups. That's a good suggestion. Anybody have any other idea how we can overcome this obstacle?
Yeah, I actually do is like tie up grocery shopping while when I'm outside and coming way on back to my house. I just stop by and grab things on certain days. Whenever the earlier I'm coming to the home, I stop by and pick up specific days for the specific grocery.
That's a good idea. Yep.
So that you save time and as well as your mind starts getting that routine.
Yes. Yes. So one tip go ahead.
Maybe help them set their like grocery list together. Maybe it's just overwhelming for them and they just end up buying a bunch of stuff that they don't use. So maybe in the beginning, helping them come up with a grocery list based on those like meals, those recipes.
Exactly. And it makes a difference. Y'all, how many of you have in the chat box, how many of you have gone to buy groceries when you're hungry? So it's either going to go two ways. It's going to go two ways, right? So what happens when you go buy? Yes, Bonnie, you gravitate towards the sweets. If you need a list. Yes, but why is it a bad idea, Jesse? What happens when you go buy groceries when you're hungry? It's either going to go two ways, or at least for me. Yes. Yes. This is what happens with me. I either buy, I buy more, or I buy more of the bad stuff because your body's needing food, right? Because you're shopping based on hunger, right? Or what happens is I'm hungry and I just got to get out of there and I don't finish buying groceries. So it's either going to go two ways with me. Either I'm going to whiz through the store and I'm going to miss things because I'm in such a hurry because I'm hungry, or I'm going to overly buy. And then again, you buy quick things just because you feel you need it. So we want to help our clients, right? We want to help them and talk about it and be very real. Y'all, you have to share your own stories. You have to share your own stories with your clients. Schedule it. I think somebody mentioned that, right? How she goes by the grocery store on the way home, right? So there has to be a regular routine for grocery shopping, just like everything else. Okay, I don't have time to cook. I think this is the number one obstacle that we're going to face. And I think we did a lot of talking about this, but does anybody want to talk about this anymore? I don't have time to cook. If you want to unmute yourself and maybe think about how have you overcome this? What have you done to maybe cook one extra day a week? What are you doing to?
Yeah, I can talk about this because it's my biggest problem myself. So for me, one is like having to take those few hours on Sunday to meal plan and then cook a little bit. So I do have to kind of cook maybe 2 days at a time. I try to cap my leftovers to like 2 or 3 days.
Good.
And then I'll cook dinner for lunch and eat the leftovers at lunch. And then because I have more time in the evening. And then I do plan to just like eat out or something like that a few times a week too.
Yeah.
So just like trying to balance everything. And then I think the last thing is prepping certain things that can be combined. Like, for example, I was eating this salad where I could like chop up vegetables and just keep them. So, I mean, it's hard though, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah.
No. And I'm thank you so much for being so transparent, right? Because it is hard, especially for people who are juggling work and then, multiple kids and, and then if you've got picky eaters, your children are at that stage where they're picky eaters and you feel like you have to cook 2 or 3 different things. Like it's hard, y'all. And so that's why we have to keep it real with our clients. So let's see here. Jesse, can you unmute yourself and talk a little bit? Oh, you're in Barcelona. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's like music in the background and people working, but I mean, I guess like, if you don't mind people working in the background, I'm in a hostel.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Go ahead. And because you've got like, you have like a even busier schedule than everybody because you're, flight attendant. So talk a little bit to us.
So I think when it's somebody who lives on the road and besides being a flight attendant, there are a lot of people that have jobs that take them away. It's really difficult to maintain and this lifestyle. I find it incredibly difficult, but I do my best when I can. It requires way more planning when I'm home and I'm able to like go back and forth and not have the international trips. But when I do have the international trips, it's nearly impossible because I can't go back and forth with fresh food from customs. For instance, my next month in July, I'm doing Mexico cities, and my Mexico City layovers are like 24 hours each night. And I'm gone for 4 days. So I can start the trip with a little bit of food for like my first day, but then I come back into the States and then I immediately leave again. So I have to clear customs in Mexico, then clear it in the States, and you can't bring food either way. So it's like, it's just, you can't bring food.
Yeah, no. And so
not fresh food.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, maybe we're not all going to have, flight attendants for clients, but we are going to have people who travel, right? And so this is something that we want to be able to already help have a thought process of how we're going to work through that obstacle. So I think, Bonnie, I love your, can you unmute yourself? Because I love that comment.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I was talking to someone and as far as what he could do to kind of help him correct with his imbalancements, and he's an architect, and he lives with his mom and dad at home. He says he gets home about 7 or 8, and his mom is the one that does all the cooking. And he works basically Monday through Saturday. And I said, okay, I'll think of some ideas, and I'm still spinning. I mean, I would have to talk to the mom, or he would have to talk to the mom with what the meal plan is, or what?
No, I mean, I think Bonnie, just kind of, we've been talking about it. Like if she cooks, like just say, okay, mom, whenever you're making rice, can you add these two extra, like if she uses, oregano and she's using cumin and she's using black pepper or whatever, then just say, hey mom, do you think of my recipes whenever you cook for me, can you add these 2 or 3 extra spices?
Oh,
right?
Okay, good. Okay.
And then if she eats if she makes food with a lot of meat and he's open to having one day of no meat and just either beans and veggies or beans and veggies and rice, like, okay, mom, one day a week, I don't want to eat any meat or I don't want to eat any chicken, just make me some, vegetables or add some more vegetables into the rice. And that's all I want for dinner that day. So just make it easy. Yeah. Help it make it easier for mom to help him. Right.
Yes, they got busy schedules. He's got a busy schedule, and she's also a teacher too. But right now she's on summer break, so that might help right now. But other than that, they're very, very busy. The whole family's very busy.
Yeah, but think about it. You have an opportunity, and this is the great thing about Ayurveda. When you work with clients, you have an opportunity. You haven't even done a consultation with the mom, right? But like you're helping them make some little changes, and it's going to have a ripple effect on the entire family. The other thing too, y'all, is let's really talk about, what if your clients, and you have a client who travels a lot, and they have to eat out in restaurants. What are you going to tell them? Who's going to mute themselves and talk a little bit about that? Because it's a reality. You're going to have clients who are traveling 2 or 3 days a week. What are you going to say?
This is Elizabeth. So I just came back from like a couple months of on and off like military trips, and some of those were in the field where I didn't have we don't have kitchen access. And so like I had sent a picture in of like an MRE, but like you can come in with stuff, but there's no refrigerator. And so what I did is I just got like some healthy things that I like could think of that weren't going to go bad. And then like tuna, and I got like a water kettle, and at least I was trying to warm like I brought like like broth that was like from the store, and I would just try to heat it up that way. But it gets old very quickly. And then I moved to a different area where I was at a school for about a month, and they have the cafeteria there. But the food is so processed. Like every day I was just like dying because like I would try to eat even like whatever the healthiest option is that they had, but the vegetables were so watered down. I mean, it's normal for us for military. It sounds awful, but and I was just feeling sick. And so I had brought some seasonings with me. Like I brought my ghee and I brought a shoka powder and stuff. And so I just started like trying to like add seasoning to the foods that they did have, but it was extremely difficult. And then I did end up transitioning into like almost like a hotel style. So we had like a little stove, which was amazing because as much as I could make with like the little space, we didn't have like a big fridge or anything, but like making eggs and like adding seasoning to it or things like that. But I struggle with that. So like for me personally, like I know when I'm going on these long trips, like next week I'll have to go to or in 2 weeks to Chile. And then our days are like, 14, 15 hours. So like things that we are able to bring with us that, it's just, I didn't find a really good solution for that. So like I would actually need help recommending that to someone else.
Thank you for sharing that. So, y'all, and you mentioned this, right? My first go-to, when my first thought was like, what about churnams?
So
why? I mean, like, can you encourage your clients, like, okay, if you have to eat out 2 or 3 days a week, that's fine. I'm going to recommend that you make this special little blend, like in a little
Deb, I have an entire thing.
Okay.
What I've done is I've created things like wet meal recipes versus dry meal recipes.
Okay.
And yes, I've taken a little cheat from Nandini, who does all these dry stuff. Yeah, so I'll be talking about that. But no, I do not have any solution for the military. That is not part of my solution, um, unfortunately. But yeah, for people who have to work, my entire presentation is kind of based on that.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So now I regret that I'm going to miss it, but I'm going to be driving back home, but I'll have to get the PowerPoint.
No,
So
I'll send you the recording so you can hear it. I think it'll be fun.
okay, perfect. And so a lot of great more information to come. Like I said, Manjulati is doing the part 2 to this, but just really talking to our clients about how are they spending their time, right? Are you really, really busy? I mean, and this is, I'm just talking to you. I'm not saying that this is how we're going to talk to our clients, but helping them to really look at, do like a little time study on how they're spending their time. It's very interesting. We all say that we're very, very busy, right? But social media, y'all, like we can get lost. I can get lost in Instagram. I can get lost in TikTok. I mean, are they, watching TV? So is it really that they don't have time to cook, or is it just about prioritizing? And somebody had mentioned that in the chat box, right? And so then we want to encourage our clients to, plan it and schedule it, just like everything else. And I have to have everything on my calendar, because if it's not on my calendar, I just don't do it. So how can we work with our clients to plan and schedule it? And then again, select easy, no frill recipes. And we've already talked a lot about that. So it's all about mindset, right? When you choose to cook at home, somebody actually had mentioned this in the chat box, right? It's like self-care, right? But we're actually choosing to take control of what we of what we're putting in our body, what food that we're selecting, right? And it brings a sense of consciousness, right? And we're talking about mindfulness, right? Not only to what we're eating, but how we're eating it, right? Again, the biggest misconception is that eating healthy is more expensive. Big misconception, right? So think about it. And if you have a client who eats out a lot, do the math, y'all. So if you eat out 5 to 7 times a week, 15 to 20 bucks a pop, you're spending $80 to $140 on food for one person. So if you have a client who eats out a lot, you may want to sit down and you may want to do the math and say, well, it really is not more expensive, right? And actually selecting your own fruits and vegetables, it can be a very grounding experience. Have y'all ever noticed that when you go and you're like have potatoes in your hand, or you have tomatoes in your hands, you have, right? It's just a very grounding experience. And when you're having to select like your bananas or your peaches, it's very grounding. So if you've got a Vata person, then this is part of the recommendations, is having them practice mindfulness when they're selecting their fruits and vegetables. Okay. And again, we talked about in the previous slide, it's not just sometimes it's not about time, it's just a matter of priorities, right? But we want to, like everything, we want to make it simple. We want to make it achievable. If you've got a client who only cooks 1 day a week, ask them, what could we do so that you could cook 2 or 3 times a week? Okay. And Manjulati's got her presentation that's going to go over some of those things. So some practical routines, create a shopping list, right? Sounds easy enough, but that's a good suggestion, Elizabeth, in the chat box, right? Setting limits on social media. And it actually helps with your mental health and even your eyes. We have too much screen time and it's hurting our eyes. So it's amazing how many people don't go to the grocery store with a shopping list. Did you know that there's actually grocery shopping list apps available? So that's something that you may want to explore. I'm not suggesting that you pay for any of them. So many apps are free, but you may want to look to see if there are 2 or 3 different free apps, and then you can see which is the best one, and you might want to be able to recommend some to your clients. I think we're all living more and more off of apps. Does anybody use a shopping list app? In the chat box, you used to, Bonnie? Did you like it? I use my notes. Yeah, you make your notes.
Yes, I used to enjoy it, but then now I use my notes, and I like the fact that you can do the little circle. So when I'm going to do, I'm hitting my finger on that little button.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sometimes I go back and forth. I either use I'll use a piece of sticky, or I use my notes. Oh, Elizabeth, that's great. I don't use Instacart. I like to go buy my groceries, but HEB allows you to choose a meal and it adds all the ingredients to your cart. That's awesome. And it kind of goes to the next suggestion, right? Pre-plan your meals and your menus. We've already talked about that. There are actually meal planning apps also available. You may want to research some of those and see what would be easy for your clients. And then if not, just take time on the weekend, right? To make an outline of what you want, what they want to eat for the week, right? And then also make it a family affair, right? You know, how can you get, if you've got, older children, can they, cut the carrots up for you? Can they, set the table for you? Like, what can they do? Or if your, husband likes to grill, can he grill, 1 or 2 days a week? Where you can have your fresh veggies out grilling outside. Prepare carryover items. And, we talked about this, right? The reality our clients will be doing, they are going to be meal prepping, and it's okay, right? We just know it's going to happen. But we know that eating leftovers is not the ideal, right? But when you compare it to eating fast food, one day of eating, your carryover, your leftovers is a much better option, right? Greens and grains and beans are two of the best foods to carry over because they stay relatively fresh. And again, we just, if they can eat, maybe, try to eat leftovers, 1 or 2 days and not any more than that at all. Practical routines, put in place, again, just kind of meal prepping, have all your ingredients ready, have your utensils, your appliances, measure out, cut, dice, whatever you can to make actually the cooking process go a little bit faster. And then some of your legumes actually have to be soaked overnight. So plan that ahead of time, right? If you're going to use chickpeas, plan to soak them the night before. Do any of y'all do any of these things right now? Oh my gosh. Yes? Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. So I think somebody was talking about this, but I briefly talked about it as like, how do we incorporate, the churnums? And this is something easy that you can make. That's what I have at home. I have my little, I have like a little salt shaker, or it's actually not a salt shaker. It's a old spice jar that I repurposed to have my blend ready for me to use. So something very, very easy. And actually, these are the recipes that y'all got in your first couple of months in the program. So these are the same things that that you've seen before. So definitely how we can use churnums to incorporate 6 tastes in their diet and in their existing recipes. But I still don't have time. You're going to offer your client all those great ideas that we just talked about for the last hour, and they come back to you and they say, you know what? That sounds great, but I still don't have time. Okay, so what do we do? At this point, Houston, we have a problem, right? Like Bonnie said. So we want to, praise clients for what they're doing, right? And that they recognize that they want to make some changes, right? And so how do we begin with some micro changes, right? If they're cooking, like I said, if they're cooking, 2 days a week, can they add 1 more day a week? Can they consider getting the Instapot? Can they consider getting a crock pot or a rice cooker if they don't already have one, right? And then, again, thinking outside the box on how we can make those micro changes to their existing recipes to incorporate some of the spices, right? And then also, yes, definitely. Sell them on good food, exactly. And then not to forget teas, y'all. Teas are very popular right now. And so, encouraging your clients to drink CCFT or other teas. Manjulali always wants to feed us. It's a great little way to introduce your clients to food, right? And so, don't forget about teas. Whatever you do, don't forget about incorporating teas. And even for your clients who travel a lot, having them take some pre-packaged tea bags that they can either make themselves or order, from Banyan or other resources is a great way for them to travel, right? And then celebrate your wins with your clients, right? All right, and then always remember to give thanks for the food that we're eating. All right, so now we're coming towards the end. So we're going to do some case studies. Mark is a 30-year-old recently divorced software program manager who works from home. He is a typical headstrong, self-motivated Pitta. He's open to your suggestions, but is pretty stubborn about cooking for himself. He states that he has not cooked since he was in college and doesn't have many cooking utensils or appliances. There's no right or wrong answer, so I do want y'all to unmute yourselves. What would you suggest to Mark? So we know something, right? He used to cook in college. So this is not a person who's telling you he doesn't know how to cook. He just hasn't cooked. He hasn't had to cook. So who's going to unmute themselves and talk a little bit about what some recommendations we can offer Mark?
I would advise that he just gets a crock pot and do small meals where he can just throw it in the morning, and then it's ready whenever he comes home from work.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, he works from home, right? So
Yeah.
good suggestion, crock pot, good suggestion. Anybody else have anything else that they would offer to Mark?
What's the best food that he liked eating, or that he likes eating when he eats outside? And so he can try it at home.
Okay. Perfect.
Are you able to just like kind of be frank with people? Like if they're coming to you and they're wanting to make changes, it's going to take a little work. And so in the nicest way, just letting them know that they're going to have to make some changes to their lifestyle if they want to see results.
Can I say something, Deb?
Yes.
Just to answer Liz. So Liz, that's such an interesting question. So when I came, I've been here since 2007, and then I started my Ayurveda practice. And of course, I'm from India. We cook every meal fresh. Our idea of meal prep is we'd had servants who chop the meal, veggies for us, and we cook lunch, dinner, breakfast. And then I came to this country, and then I'm finding out that's not, people don't cook every meal fresh in this country. And yeah, so this is the problem that I actually shared. And a lot of clients were saying, okay, you're saying eat khichdi. I don't know how to make khichdi. You're saying do this, do that. So I started offering this cooking sessions at home just for $20. And it was 4 hours. So I did 1 month, and and it was just $20. And if you don't want to pay $20, don't even pay that. So and then at one point they became so popular, I had a wait list for people wanting to get in my cooking lessons. And I remember one session we made, like, then we would do one Sunday. We were no, not we, there would be some theory part also. They were paying for the theory part, but the cooking part I couldn't charge for because I didn't have a kitchen, I didn't have insurance and things like that. It was, but in those, we had 10, 20, 30 people coming in. I had a big house, a farmhouse. Like once we had 43 people. And we had set up, and all of them were paying whatever, $20, $30. So it isn't, but then all of them signed up to be my clients. Many of them, and then many of them would sign up to be my clients. And then I started the school. And then even now, years and years, 15 years later, I go to San Diego, they say, I still remember your cooking class. So the cooking class, and it's a way of making money too. You could do it at a restaurant kitchen or something, but we were doing it at home. So yeah, it was like a marketing as well. So I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah, and Manjula, my doctor offers. She offers whole plant-based cooking classes, and it's $40. And you'll go, and she's got like the kitchen set up in her doctor's office here in Austin, where you can go take a class. She was doing it before COVID. I don't know if she got them started up again or not, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. And that's what Manjulali always says, that there's so many different ways you can go into business when you're a counselor. All right, case study number 2. Stephanie is a 30-year-old nurse practitioner who works from home doing televisits 3 days a week. She is a typical Vata balancing work, a new baby, volunteers at the local food bank once a week, and does power yoga 3 times a week. She says she doesn't have time to cook. She has her groceries delivered and really doesn't like to cook. How would you overcome her obstacles? Who can unmute themselves and talk a little bit how you would overcome?
I think it's the easy recipes. For me, that works so well when I start to be vegetarian some years ago. Like starting with simple recipes and maybe teach some techniques to cook grains, for example, to make it easy. For example, the falafels I think it's a easy way to eat the chickpeas, for example. So something like that.
Yeah, and so Indria, you mentioned that baby and mama meals, y'all. We yes, cook for baby, y'all. Especially if you've got young moms, you want to pull at those heartstrings, you know, because as mothers, we're trying to do the best thing for our children, and so pull at those heartstrings. You know, why this change is not like if she were to cook 2 or 3 times a week. Why it's not only good for her, but it's going to be even healthier for her baby. Okay, so good suggestions. Maria, I think this is going to be our last one. Maria's mother just moved into her home permanently due to a recent fall. She loves cooking, so she buys in bulk. She has an extra freezer for meats and likes to cook larger portions so she and her mother can eat leftovers. You completed a consultation for Maria and her mother and determined they are kaphas. What dietary recommendations would you offer Maria? Anybody want to unmute themselves and talk a little bit?
In this case, the leftovers are not so good. I think it's to suggest try to cook less, a little less, to don't have so much leftovers. At least diminish the frequency.
Karam, I just want to say you cannot tell a kapha woman to cook less. It's impossible.
Oh,
But she can invite friends and, you know, go and feed
sure,
others. Yeah, I'm telling you, as a kapha woman, telling a kapha person not to cook is like taking away breath from their body. It's
My
not
mom, yeah,
cook less quantity is not possible. Like cook like
Is there anyone who's a cook and a kapha like me here?
my mom,
Oh, is it?
my mom was kapha, and she would tell you she just didn't know how to cook smaller portions. Like she just didn't know how. Like she just didn't know how.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I've met a few. What about Jayanti ji? You're kapha, right? Partly kapha. And I know you love to cook.
Actually, Manjulali ji, I am partly kapha, but I hated to cook to start with.
Oh my God.
In the beginning, I would just hate cooking. But then with time, and the only way that I started doing is like I had to do it. So the one thing that that helped me was if I have to have the meal ready at 11 o'clock, I used to see how long it takes for me to cook. So if it takes an hour or like 45 minutes, I would do everything in that 45 minutes and then set the alarm 45 minutes before.
Oh my God. What about you, Jyoti? You're saying that you cannot cook smaller portions? I'll tell you, Atul, when I think I've said this before, when I first moved to this country, we'd have 4 people coming over. So I would tell Atul, we have 4 people coming over. He would cook for 45 people.
That's my husband as well.
Oh my goodness.
It's the kapha in him. So one of the things we do is he'll make these like giant things. I feed all the neighbors. That's what I do. And I still bake, like I'll make like this the other day. I made this recipe just for you guys, I'll tell you. And I made so much of it. And then we kept 4 pieces for ourselves, the rest all the neighbors. The neighbors love me.
Oh my goodness, you should have called me, Manjulali. I would have driven to South Austin and picked some up. All right, Jamaria, that's your problem, right? Now it's just you're an empty nester. And so, yeah, how to cook smaller portions. So these are all like really, good examples of clients you're going to encounter. I saw all the comments in the chat box, a lot of good feedback. So thank you so much for chiming in, right? So the homework, y'all. Okay, so this is going to be fun. So you get to choose. So either you find or create one easy crock pot and or Instapot recipe for each dosha. So you're going to submit a total of 3 recipes, or you're going to find or create one 20 or 30-minute easy recipes for each dosha. Y'all, there's so many available online, those 20-minute recipes, 30-minute recipes, but you're going to change it. You're going to revise it to make it dosha specific. So you're going to add it to, you're going to have a total of 3 recipes, okay? Or you can find or create 3 tridoshic breakfast recipes. And these assignments, Manjulati, are you okay if they're doing 2 weeks? I did say that they should put them on Slack, but is 2 weeks is okay?
Yeah, I was going to ask, we were going to create some recipes today, so we could at least do one of the homeworks today. I mean, one of these, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I hope you have fun. And the reason that I do want them on Slack, and so does Manjulali, is because we want to share, because I want everybody to be able to have, I don't know how many of y'all are on this this weekend's class, but then we're all able to share recipes, and so we don't have to do so much double work, right? And let's just try not to duplicate as much as possible. All right, so that's all I had for today. Thank you so much for your participation, y'all.